Friday, TGIF, am I right?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, it's that time. Almost there. We have 1 hour to go. Welcome to DraftKings The Sweat. That's the bell. We have an hour. One more hour until the show ends. I'm Adam Kaufman alongside Jessie, Coffield. We're getting you to the finish line of Friday.
Yeah, that's the fire alarm, which will be going off this entire show. Our experts will be dishing out top-notch DFS and betting advice until the clock strikes 7. We got golf, we got football, and right now we've got baseball. Let's bring in DK Live's Julian Edlow, Steve Buchanan, and Matt LaMarca of the Action Network here for MLB Hot or Not. So do you think the following players will exceed expectations tonight and give you a flame on your DK app, or do you see them disappointing and leaving you with the snowflake?
I'm just wondering how many fire puns we're going to put into this first question.
So many.
As the fire alarm prepares to go off.
It's lit here. It is literally lit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But at least Bukes is in the building with us, so he'll go down too. Mike Soroka has been pretty hot and cold lately for the Braves, but he's got a favorable matchup tonight against the Phillies, who have one of the worst offenses over the last month. Julian, do you think he'll be hot and be worth his $9,900 salary, or, none?
I think he has a decent chance to be worth his salary. He has been very hot and cold. He was cold when he faced the Phillies earlier this season. But I just don't know why you would want to spend the $9,900 on him, given the other options on the board. You've got Ryu going against Washington, who he threw 8 innings and allowed 1 hit against earlier in the season. He's a lot more at 11-2. And as Steve Buchanan knows, I am Marlins man. I will project every Marlins game completely correctly. And this is a night that we want to fade the Marlins, which is why I like Zach Greinke at $10,500 and think he's a much better option than Mike Soroka, and at a very similar price point. Greinke, I think he is the lowest ERA in any stadium in Miami as any in the majors, and he's 11-0 against them in his career.
Bukes, very important. Just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine.
Great. Okay. No windows in that room, so you wouldn't know anyway. Hot or not? What do you think?
Yeah, so we got Julian is touting that, he loves the Marlins. We got Matt, who has this big crush on Clayton Kershaw. Like, can you guys like players that are good or teams that are good? Like, I don't know what's wrong with you people. As for Soroka, I have no clue why anybody in their right mind would pay up $9,900 for a guy who's averaging 14.4 DK fantasy points over his last 5 games. He is so inconsistent when it comes to strikeouts that if he has one of those games where he's not getting the strikeouts, which you've seen numerous times this season, you are just simply not going to get the fantasy points from this guy. He has absolutely been nasty on the road. I will give him that. He has 212 WOBA, 3.13 xFIP on the road. He's excellent. But in this type of matchup where the Phillies aren't the most strikeout-prone team, I have there's no shot that I'm taking Soroka in this spot.
Matty, I think it was very unfair of him to call you out before you've even spoken.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just keep Steve locked in the closet after this show is over tonight.
Nice closet.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Leave it to fate.
I have to agree with him here, though. I am not interested in Mike Soroka. He's just not a strikeout pitcher. 7.56 K per 9 this season. The Phillies are a decent matchup, but we're still only giving him a K prediction of roughly 5.3 at Fantasy Labs. Phillies are implied for 4.4 runs. And if you look at comparable pitchers, meaning, comparable strikeout upside, comparable Vegas data, they've averaged just over 15 DraftKings points per start. That's not enough for me at 9,900. I think there are much better options to go with tonight.
All right, well, Luke Voigt was pretty much the only Yankee to live up to expectations last night with 3 hits against Boston. Do you expect him to play well again against Andrew Cashner or not, Steve? I mean, I know Cashner has really not. Yeah, he's been really bad in his first 2 starts with the Red Sox.
It's been bad.
I know we all listen to the Panel Beat podcast that unfortunately features Julian and Alex Jankowski in it, and everybody who listens to that knows that I think Cashner is a heaping pile of a non-family friendly word. I mean, not only is Voigt going to play well tonight, every single person who has a Yankee uniform, even if they don't get in a game, is probably going to hit Cashner at some point. He's just been an absolute nightmare since he's joined the Red Sox here. I mean, you just look at his numbers. And, Julian likes to say that he was the most profitable pitcher that you can bet on. It has not happened when he's come to the Red Sox. The Yankees have a 5.5 team total. I'm sure it's gone up at some point here. I think the Yankees are one of the top stacks of the night. There is no way Cash is going to make it out of, we'll just say, 4 innings tonight.
Yeah, I mean, in Cashner's first 2 starts with the Sox, Matt, he's given up 10 runs in 11 innings overall.
Not good.
No.
Not particularly good. Still, Boyd is not all that high on my first base list tonight. His StatCast data from the past 15 days is just awful. 190-foot distance, 22% fly ball rate, 31% hard hit rate. That's just not the type of guy that I'm looking to target, particularly at 4,800. You know, he's not cheap. You have to pay up for him tonight. And I just can't get behind doing that for someone who's swinging the bat as poorly as Voit right now. I get that it's a great spot. The Yankees are certainly going to be popular. And I have no problems with you wanting to target Cashner. I would just do it with some of their other batters.
Jules, how do you feel about Voit?
Yeah, first off, just a couple of quick facts. Andrew Cashner was the most profitable pitcher in baseball on the money line when he was traded from the Orioles because he was getting so many plus prices. That's a fact, Steve. Fact number 2, you owe me a breakfast sandwich because the Marlins won the other night, and I can predict every Marlins game correctly. When it comes to Voit, I don't love that he's $4,800, and there are somehow still, 6 Yankees in this lineup priced higher than him. I would just rather pay up more if I'm going to pay up for a Yankee than spend the $4,800 on Voit. Aaron Judge for $5,500, Didi Gregorius for $5,100, or Gleyber Torres for $4,900. I would rather just find a few more bucks and have any of those guys than Voit.
Can I offer just a little bit of support for our guy Cash?
Yeah.
Do you want to win some straight cash, homie?
Oh.
10, I know. Yeah, 10 career starts for Cashner against the Yankees. He has a sub-4 ERA. He's gone at least 6 innings in 9 of those. So I'm not telling you he's going to go out and pitch well, but at least he shouldn't get roughed up.
You're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. All right, Matt, let's go right back to you here. Danny Santana has put up 34 DK points last night, as a matter of fact, against the Athletics. Can he keep that up against Daniel Mengden tonight? What do you think?
Well, I don't think he's going to get 30 again, but I do like this spot for Santana. I'm not wild about his price tag. I mean, $5K is pretty expensive for him, but he is scorching the ball right now, and Mangden has just been dreadful against left-handed bats this season. 407 WOBA allowed to them. So I think that this is a pretty contrarian spot for Santana. You know, the Rangers' implied team total just 4.4 runs. They're not going to be a very popular target, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had another, double-digit fantasy point type of game.
Over his last 10, averaging about 14, Jules. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously going to fade that he can keep this up and be scoring 34 DK points, but I'll also fade having that much interest in him at 5K. Like Matt said, you can get him in a little bit of a contrarian spot because he's expensive, and he's in a spot where his team's not projected to score that many runs on this slate. But at the same time, I like those Red Sox. I like those Yankees. Mookie Betts at 5,100, Bogarts at 5,000. You got Freddie Freeman in a good spot on this slate. Mike Trout's so hot. Like, if you're going to spend all this money, is Danny Santana really going to be the guy? I'll look a lot of other places first.
Couple of fat fades there, Bukes. What do you think?
I don't mind Santana in tournaments, especially. Like, if you want to play him in a tournament, I think it's actually a really good play here. For a lot of the reasons why these guys have mentioned, there's going to be a lot of focus on some of the more expensive bats. Obviously, the Red Sox, obviously the Yankees. Freddie Freeman's in a really good spot here tonight, like Julian said. But yeah, I mean, we talked about how Mengden has been so poor against lefties. Like, even in Oakland, he's been having these issues. He has a 6.24 xFIP against them in Oakland. I mean, this is the cozy Oakland Coliseum we're talking about, and he still can't get these guys out. So taking Santana, who's, multi-position eligible at second base and in the outfield, I don't mind this spot at all for him. And if he's swinging the bat as well as he is, and that rolls over to tonight, yeah, you're in a really good spot with some really low ownership too as well.
Well, Alex Bregman's bat has gone ice cold. Just 1 hit in his last 5 games. Julian, do you like his chances to snap out of this mini slump here tonight against the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, not particularly. It's a fine spot, and the price, it's a nice buy low spot on him, I guess, at $4,400. But if we look at that game log, he was priced $4,500. What is that? About 4 or 5 games ago, $4,300. So he's on a mini slump right now where, he's only scored DK points in, 2 of his last 5 games. prior to that, he scored 25 DK points at 4,900 and 16 DK points at 4,300. So I guess when he's that cheap, there just is some upside that he can break out of a slump since he did it about a week ago. But I just think 14-game slate, like, you don't need to take the chance for you.
Steve, is Bregman's upside appealing to you, or do you just want to look elsewhere?
It's just not really a great spot. I mean, you can say that Jack Flaherty has his struggles against lefties, and that's definitely true. But when it comes to righties, especially at Busch Stadium, like, it's a really good spot for him. He's been really solid against righties. The one thing I will say, though, is Bregman does have a 62 hard hit rate since the All-Star game. So it's one of those things that he's going to come around eventually. I just saw Matt smirking. I can't wait and see what he says about that. He's definitely going to come around. Is it going to be tonight? Probably not. Maybe a more favorable matchup, I'd be willing to take him, but at least the hard hit rate is there. So he's doing the right things. They're just not landing in the right spots for him right now.
Matt, go ahead.
He's eager.
I mean,
the smirk.
Steve, you were there. You're there, bro. You have it. 62% hard hit rate since the All-Star break. Who cares if the ball hasn't been hitting the grass recently? He's hitting the ball hard, and this is Alex freaking Bregman. This is one of the best hitters in the game, and you can get him at 4,400. His salary's gone down $600 over the past month. This is an elite buy low spot on one of the best hitters in baseball.
Well, I mean, his salary's gone down that much over the last month, but his salary has also gone up $100 in the last 6 days because he was just $4,300.
Oh, no, not that.
This is a buy low spot. I mean, do you want to bet on what his salary's going to be next month? Because I'll take the over on 4,400.
Are you really that concerned about $100? Are you that cheap?
No, I'm just
saying. This is fake money, you know.
You can make the numbers on anybody because his salary is up this much in this amount of time, down this much in this amount of time.
Thanks, Julian. Glad you're on the show.
He's analyzing trends, man. Give him a break.
He's an idiot.
All right, well, you had it right there. Matty told you. Good stuff, gang. I'm sure we'll do it again a little bit later on, but we're going to continue our NFL team previews with a look at the Raiders next.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Taryn Azak here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. We have been hearing Noah Syndergaard's name as trade bait lately. It's looking like the Mets now fully intend to trade Syndergaard before next week's trade deadline. The 26-year-old is not eligible for free agency until after the 2021 season. Syndergaard has shined at times, but has been largely inconsistent this season with a 7-5 record and a 4.33 ERA. Teams that are in the market for a starting pitcher are the Yankees, Braves, Phillies, Padres, Astros, and Twins. It seems pretty unlikely the Mets would trade him to the crosstown rival Yankees or division foes Atlanta and Philly. But the Mets have reportedly had discussions with the Twins and have interest in Minnesota's top 2 prospects. We will have to wait and see where Thor will land at the deadline.
We're inching closer to the start of NFL season, so what better time to break down the most important fantasy players on each team for season-long and DFS. Let's welcome in DK Live's Julian Edlow and Jeff Ulrich. Gentlemen, the team we're focusing on today is the Raiders.
All right, DK Live's panel is predicting Antonio Brown will be their fantasy MVP this season. Makes a lot of sense if you really think about it, but do you agree with that pick, Julian?
I mean, this is one of those ones where it's really difficult to disagree with the pick just because it's Antonio Brown. He's been one of the best, not just wide receivers from a fantasy perspective, but best fantasy football players over the last 5-6 years or so. So is Antonio Brown going to be the fantasy MVP of the Raiders? I would say yes in terms of overall points, but from a value perspective, I think you can make the argument that a guy like Josh Jacobs coming into that Raiders backfield just at the price where you can get him, maybe in terms of his DFS salary or his season-long ADP, might have a little bit more value. I mean, you look at Antonio Brown, he caught 104 out of 168 targets last year from Ben Roethlisberger. That's not all that great of a catch rate, and I don't think that's going to get better, that much better with Derek Carr at the helm. So I'm kind of down on the Raiders this year. I'm not a big Derek Carr fan, so I see Antonio Brown's overall stock really plummeting, but he'll still be the best fantasy option on the Raiders.
Jeff, Brown was phenomenal last year. We see the numbers on the screen, averaged about 23 fantasy points per game before, of course, as we know, kind of falling out of favor there in Pittsburgh. As Julian did note, though, he is going to a lesser quarterback. Say what you want about Ben Roethlisberger last year. Derek Carr, it hasn't shown us any reason to believe that he's what he was a couple of years back. So what do you expect here?
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr is just not as good a quarterback as Ben Roethlisberger. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. With Antonio Brown, I don't think there's any question that production-wise he's going to be the fantasy MVP. They didn't bring him here to not throw him the ball as much as possible. And Antonio Brown is a type of personality where if you don't throw him the ball a lot, he will let you know about it. So I see this as from a volume perspective being pretty safe. It's just like Julian said, what is the connection rate going to be? What is the production rate going to be with the end zone? I don't think you can look at the Pittsburgh numbers that Antonio Brown put up and figure that's going to be a realistic upside this year. I just don't think that's going to happen. The Raiders offense does not project to be that much better than last year, even with Brown. I just think Derek Carr is a lesser quarterback. Still have questions with O-line and running backs. So, Antonio Brown probably going to be the fantasy MVP. I don't think he's of the Raiders. I don't think he's going to be any type of great value unless he suddenly starts plummeting in drafts. Guys like Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster, I would take them over Antonio Brown this year in a heartbeat.
The panel predicts Josh Jacobs will be the LVP or least valuable player. Jeff, do you think that's going to be the case?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with this one full-heartedly. Look, Josh Jacobs out of Alabama, I know lots of people point to it. Oh, he's really consistent running back. He does everything well, but there's a lack of explosiveness here that was pretty evident in his pro day. He doesn't have top-end speed. He doesn't have what you call elite athleticism. Can he catch the ball out of the backfield? Is he pretty good at things that most Alabama running backs are good at? Yeah. Trent Richardson was good at those things too. So there's a lot of bust potential here, in my opinion. I understand it from a volume perspective, but much like Antonio Brown, unless he starts plummeting in drafts, I don't think the volume is going to make up for where he's going. I think there's a lot of potential that he just isn't that good. And even with the volume, this ends up being a bit of a bust. So I'm 100% on board with the panel with this one being the least valuable player.
Julian, is the rookie going to be the LVP here?
I actually disagree with this one. Is Jacobs the ideal rookie running back in this situation? Not necessarily. There's usually guys in other seasons and guys in this season, I think, that are just in better spots as rookies. But at the same time, we know we can count on the workload here. Oakland does not have all that deep of a backfield, and Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy that they're going to try and feed as their RB1. And one of the things that I always like about taking chances on rookie running backs is just that they come in with fresh legs because they don't have as many miles on them. And that's, true very much more so for Josh Jacobs, who was basically in a three-way running back share at Alabama last season with Damian Harris and Najee Harris, both similarly carrying the ball equally as much. So Josh Jacobs only carried the ball 120 times last season with Alabama. He should be ready to take on a big load and I think be more consistent than people are giving him credit for. At the same time, I'm still kind of down on this Oakland offense, so I don't love him as a great value, but I don't think he'll be even close to the LVP on this team. I think I would much rather give that to Derek Carr or any wide receiver not named Antonio Brown.
Jules' panel also has Darren Waller as the breakout player for this team. How do you feel about him? I mean, I feel like you need to kind of introduce him to most people at this point.
Yeah, most people are probably Googling that name because he has pretty much no fantasy background to him. He's been in the league a few years. He was a sixth-round pick. The reason that he's got value now is because Jared Cook, who played a huge role in Oakland's offense at tight end last season, is no longer in Oakland. So there is a role opening up, and this guy is so unknown, it's pretty easy to say that he could be a breakout here because he's done practically nothing in his career. So if the tight end position is something that Derek Carr is comfortable targeting and Darren Waller is going to be the tight end one in this offense, yeah, I think there's going to be some good value here as maybe even like a waiver wire tight end or a guy to target late in drafts. Or if you want to spend really cheap money on DraftKings at tight end, he's probably a guy that's going to see a really low salary unless he breaks out very quickly.
Ulrich, would you go to the wall for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, Darren Waller is the type of player that gets me kind of excited for fantasy because you should go Google him after this video. I mean, this is a 6'6" tight end who ran a 4.4. He's like Evan Ingram, but bigger. I mean, he's got all the measurables to be a very successful pass catcher in this league. Had some drug suspension problems. That's why he didn't see the field for a couple of years, but he got a chance. John Gruden knows he likes him. I mean, he started giving him work towards the end of last season. He's come out. and said Waller's getting the chance to be the tight end one. And that might be the biggest thing in his favor, that he's got the coach behind him. He's going to get on the field one way or the other. Whether he sees as many targets as Jared Cook is up for debate, but Tyrell Williams is still there too. I do expect Tyrell Williams to pick up some of the slack with Jared Cook gone, but Darren Waller has all the measurables to be effective. He might be more of a DFS play, like a week-to-week thing, than someone you can count on necessarily for season long. But yeah, this is a player to get kind of excited about and definitely keep in the back of your mind as the season goes on.
Well, what could be better than that? Be sure to tune to Showtime Boxing on Saturday when undefeated two-time champion and Baltimore native Gervonta Tank Davis makes a homecoming defense of his super featherweight title against hard-hitting challenger Ricardo Nunez in this explosive matchup.
Don't miss out on the action Saturday, July 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time on Showtime.
As a youth, he faced adversity. As a man, he rose above it all. And as a king, he reigned supreme, making his mark on the sport.
Unbelievable knockout artist Tank Davis.
Decorated champion Tank Davis returns Saturday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime.
Welcome back to The Sweat. Important to note, actually, that the Raiders just announced that Brown's going to start training camp, Antonio Brown, on the non-football injury list.
Do you think it was a hot air balloon injury?
I was going to say, he did come into camp on the hot air balloon.
I don't want to throw around the term injury. It's the non-football injured list. But again, hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon. There's a lot to unpack there.
That's a hell of a way to arrive at camp.
Absolutely. Now, we should get back to baseball, though.
Yeah,
okay.
Why not?
Okay. Welcome back to DK Live's Julian Edlow, Steve Buchanan, and Matt LaMarca of the Action Network. Time for MLB High or Low. So are these DK Sportsbook numbers too high or too low?
Or just right. No, that's not actually an option, just if you have kids. All right, last time Hyunjin Ryu faced the Nationals back in May, absolutely dominated them. 8 innings, no runs, only 1 hit, 9 Ks. DK Sportsbook has his over-under for strikeouts set at just 5.5 when he faces Washington again tonight. Jules, you like that number? Is it too low?
No, I think that sounds just right. I think he's going to strike out 5.5 people.
It's right on the nose.
Amazing.
Yes. Look, I think it's a fair number. It more matters, I guess, how deep he's going into games. It looked like he was pitching deeper into games earlier in the season, or at least had the potential to pitch deeper into games earlier in the season. In May, he went at least 8 innings in 3 starts in a row, with the third one there being the Nationals game where he struck out 9. So while I like him a lot on this slate, I think that the Nationals caught him last time kind of when he was peaking this season. I still think he's going to have a very good game. But for the most part, this strikeout rate, it's a pretty low number there. He's gone over it in his last 2 games. He went well over it against Washington. It's probably something I wouldn't necessarily make a play on, but if you force me to, I would probably bet the over here.
Bukes, this is your opportunity to ridicule Julian for saying that his strikeout total will depend how long he stays in the game.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that's some hard-hitting analysis that you're going to get right here on The Sweat starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to tune in on Monday.
Took a lot of digging to get that for you guys.
Yeah, we know. You're never prepared. Here's the problem with that total. It's just that it just feels slightly high because when you look at the Nationals' K percentage against lefties, they just don't strike out against them. It's about 19.6% on the season, and they're also one of the best hitting clubs in the league against lefties. So this is a tough spot for me to go out and put some money down and thinking he's going to get at least 6 strikeouts in this game. So with that kind of mentality, I think it's just a little too high here. I think he'll come close. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 4 or 5 in this game, but it's just tough to think when the Nationals, like I said, they just don't strike out much against lefties or righties for that matter. So I'm not liking this total too much.
Maddie, if there was a fence built around that number, Jules is sitting right on top of it. What do you say?
Yeah, it was nice to see Jules work that out live and in person. That was fun.
I got the game logs right in front of me. I'm going through it all.
Yeah, that's definitely all that matters.
We have his K prediction.
It's about the live element of it. It's working the problem out live.
High or low? LaMarca.
We have his K prediction at Fantasy Labs at 5.46. So I think this is really a dead-on number. But I am with Steve. I will take the under here. Ryu is just not a strikeout pitcher. I think he needs to go 7+ innings to hit the over here tonight, and I think the odds are greater that the Nats knock him out before then than Ryu piles up a bunch of innings. So I will take the under, but I think overall that this is a pretty fair line.
Okay, well, last night the Yankees and Red Sox hit the over by the 4th inning and finished the game with a whopping 22 combined runs. Now, they have the highest over-under on the slate tonight with 11, so is this number too low, or do you think the bats will have cooled off, Steve? I know you think Cashner is trash, so...
I think he used a tougher word than that.
Yeah.
Trash. You're being very nice with trash. Like, it's Friday. We could be a little bit loose on the show. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this game goes over again. Like, there is no way that I could go and think that I could bet the under in this and feel good about it. I mean, the Red Sox offense has looked great. The Yankees offense is looking great right now. We know how poor the Red Sox bullpen is. Even the Yankees bullpen, who honestly we all thought was going to be like this unstoppable force when the season began, hasn't been as solid as we thought they were going to be. So in a hitter's park like Fenway Park, with the starting pitchers, we're expecting them to be knocked out of this one early, especially even Paxton too. I don't think there's enough talk about Paxton probably getting hit hard on this. He has not been the same guy that he has at Yankee Stadium. He's really getting hit hard on the road. So I think this is an easy over for tonight.
Haven't these two teams combined for 80 runs or something ridiculous the last 5 games?
Yeah, it feels
it's stupid totals.
Feels like
right
you
now.
should take the over here, Matt.
Yeah, it does feel like that, huh?
Oh, wow, he's going under.
Okay.
I'm going to take the under. I think that this is a good time to sell high and sort of leverage public perception. Steve kind of just called out the Yankees bullpen. I still think that they're a good unit. Paxton is a fine pitcher. And more importantly is we've tracked a couple of steam moves on the under over at the Action Network, which means that respected bettors have sort of just been getting down on the under here all day. And if you look at the betting percentages, it backs that up. Only 18% of the bets right now are on the under in this game, but those bets have accounted for roughly 40% of the total money wagered. So the significant money, the money that really matters, that's coming in right now is on the under, and that's enough for me.
Jules, what are you doing here?
Well, the money that matters is my money, and I'm putting my money on the over here. It worked out tremendously last night. The only cause for concern here for me is that the Yankees didn't have to use their bullpen because they just got smashed right out of the gate. They left Tanaka out there, stranded on the mound, giving up runs, and then used a bunch of garbage collectors after that because they had already gotten smoked. But in Andrew Cashner's situation, obviously Steve can give you all the numbers there because he'll tell you how much he's stunk so far as a member of the Red Sox. And he's also, I know Kaufman was giving out his fancy numbers earlier in the show about his last 10 starts about the Yankees. The only ones I care about are the starts against the Yankees this season, and he's had 3 of them, and he has an ERA above 6. Obviously, Matt and Steve spoke before me, so that gave me plenty of time to do my research on this topic. The Red Sox bullpen, also garbage. I will say, if I'm less confident in a pitcher here, it's Andrew Cashner. So I think the Yankees team total, making an overplay on that might make a little more sense. But if I'm betting on the game, I'm taking the over on the game.
Jules, they weren't fancy numbers. They were just numbers. Another team with an offense that has been on fire, Giants. All right, they've scored the 2nd most runs in all of baseball this month. Their individual run total for tonight, it's only 3.5 against Joey something or other. How do you pronounce it?
Lakeezy.
Yeah, well, we'll rely on these guys to say that. He's on the Padres, I can tell you that. Matt, you think this number's too low or too high for San Fran?
I just call him Joey Cheese.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, consider me not convinced by the Giants' recent offensive outburst here. The numbers are great, but definitely inflated by that one series they had in Coors. They scored 40 runs in 4 games. Their projected lineup, still awful against left-handed batters over the past 12 months. 252 WOBA, 28.3% strikeout rate. I think, again, this is a nice time to sell on a team that has outperformed what they were expected to do recently. And this is another game with a big money versus ticket disparity on the under. 49% of the bets, but 75% of the money being wagered on the under in this game. I like the cheese, man, to take care of business here.
Luke Casey, if anybody actually cares, the internet told me. What do we think there, Jules? High or low?
Nice job doing some live research there, Kaufman. I respect that.
I learned from the best.
Takes one to know one.
Look, I don't think this is a great spot for either offense, but this is a really low number. Anytime you see a 2.5 or 3.5 team total, you can always make the argument for it. The last time Mr. Joey Cheese faced off against this offense, they wound up with 4 runs, so just barely scraping the over there. This is another spot where I just don't know if I'm necessarily comfortable making an underplay, so it would either be an over or a pass for me, but I definitely don't feel very strongly on the over. The Padres actually one of the best teams in baseball returning home after a road trip. I just X'd out on their record, but they have a really good record.
Here we go.
From road trips.
Trust me.
Hey, Steve, do something with that.
You know what karma is, Jules. Go ahead, Steve.
Like, how do we consistently bring this guy back? Like, it's amazing. Like, there's a lot of guys who would chomp at the bit for this opportunity. You can't even keep a Google Chrome window open, for Christ's sake.
Road trip for the Padres. The Padres are 14-0-1 in the first 5 inning line, and I almost got to what they were for the whole game before I lost it.
I mean, everyone's already tuned out, so, I mean, I don't know what it matters. Here's the thing when it comes to the Giants. Like, you know, like Lamarca just mentioned it earlier. Like, this recent resurgence is, like, making people think that the Giants are a good offense. They are not a good offense at all. If you just go by their numbers for the whole season, everything is near the bottom of the league. The only thing they don't really do too much is strike out. And so that's one of the things that they can hold their hat on to, is they don't strike out too much. The 3.5 run total, though, is one you don't never feel good about taking the under on, because it literally just takes one mistake to hit the over in this spot here. So I'll give them the over on this one. If it was a 4.5, I would be staying away from that. But 3.5 is just, there's just so little that has to happen for them to hit the over in this spot here. So I'll give them the over because it's low enough, but it's not really because I believe in this offense. It's just I believe that almost any team on any given night can put up 4 runs.
Sometimes I'm listening to Bukes and I just see that Simpsons gif for the, stop, he's already dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it happens all too
Julian.
often. All right, gang. No, shut up. You can talk again later on. We'll have you back to close the show with Price Check. First, though, we're going to take a look at golf with Jeff Ulrich.
Right after this NASCAR Price Check.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Pocono. Whose salary jumped up this week? Kevin Harvick, $11,100 up to $11,700. It only took till the middle of July for Harvick's team to figure out what everyone else already knew. You don't win in 2019 with speed. You win on pit road. Ryan Preece, $6,000 up to $6,600. How many top 20s does he have at non-plate races this year? 2. Richmond and Martinsville. Denny Hamlin, $9,700 up to $10,200. Top 5 speed in the first Pocono race, but he's going to need to lead laps if you want him to be optimal. Whose salary dropped this week? Martin Truex Jr., $11,500 down to $10,500. Pretty cheap for a driver with 4 wins, but if you're going to spend north of $10K, why not just go get Kyle Busch? Kyle Larson, $9,400 down to $8,500. He's too cheap. In the first race, he forfeited track position for stage points, but still in stage 3, he raced his way back to the front. Eric Jones, $9,000 down to $8,300. 3 top 5s and 5 Pocono races. He is 1 pit road strategy move away from a win. Favorite play of the week, Kyle Busch. 2017, I said play Truex every week. 2018, play Harvick every week. And now I tell you to play Kyle Busch every week. If you don't like it, send your angry tweet to @EmersonLatzia, but make sure you put a dog in the tweet or he will not respond. William Byron, $7,100. Too cheap, top 10 speed in the first Pocono race. He'll have top 10 speed in this race. All right, guys, check out the DK playbook for your DFS information and needs. If you have NASCAR questions, hit me on Twitter @RaceForThePrize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
Thank you, Pierce, and thank you for talking so quickly as you always do. Let's now shift gears to golf.
Yeah, we want to do that.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Let's do that. DK Live's Jeff Ulrich's here, so that's exciting.
Yeah, PGA Chaser fade for you, Jeff. So, do you agree or disagree with the following statements about the WGC-FedEx St. Jude Invitational?
It's a mouthful.
That is the deal here, yeah.
Yes,
it really is.
A lot going on.
So, first one, Jon Rahm was first, but he slipped a bit today. So, Chaser fade, Rahm finishing in the top 10.
This one's dicey. I mean, look, the Rahm explosion was getting close today. We were close to like an eruption. Didn't quite happen. He's bounced back a little bit. He's on -6. You kind of knew some regression was coming. Jon Rahm putted the lights out yesterday when he shot that 62. His first in strokes gained putting. So I'm not shocked to see him go down the leaderboard a bit. you do worry. He's been playing a lot of golf lately. I'm actually going to chase this. I think he will end up outside the top 10. I just feel like he's back in the United States, hasn't had quite as much success here as he has had in Europe over his career. And like I said, that putter went a little bit cold today. If it continues in round 3, you might see the full eruption from Jon Rahm. And then there's a lot of water on this course too. So I'm actually going to chase this, that he ends up outside the top 10.
Well, I'll tell you, if my internet is cooperating as it sometimes does, Jon Rahm, one shot or one hole still to go. He's 7 under, 2 strokes off the lead behind Matt Fitzpatrick, who we're going to talk about right now. He's having a fantastic second round. Matter of fact, he is, again, he's in the clubhouse, but 6 under for him. So chase or fade him landing in the top 5, Jeff?
No, I chase this. Look, Matthew Fitzpatrick is a pretty quality player. I mean, a lot of people in the States might not be that familiar with him, but he's been playing really well of late. He's a multiple-time winner on the European Tour. He's outdueled some big names, outdueled like Rory McIlroy in some tournaments, and like I say, he's been playing well. I mean, he played pretty well at the Open. He was in contention for a win a few weeks ago over in Europe as well. So he's been trending in the right direction. He putted really well today too. So you might see a little bit of regression, but I feel like he's coming in with a little bit fresher legs here. Hasn't quite peaked yet. And he might not win the event, but definitely I think he's going to stick around for the weekend because he's putting well, but his approach and strokes gained off the tee numbers are up there as well. He's just playing good golf, and he's a quality player. So top 5 for me, yeah, I chase this.
64 today. Very good.
Well, Patrick Reed recovered from a rough first round where he shot a 3 over 73, but chase or fade Reed regressing over the weekend and finishing outside the top 40.
No, I fade this. I think Patrick Reed might have been suffering from a little bit of jet lag in round 1. He's another player who he came in, I mean, with great approach numbers. A lot of people like Patrick Reed this week at only $8K in price, and it's for good reason. I mean, his ball striking the last month had been the best it had been all season. He played really well in the Open Championship as well. So I think you saw a little bit of jet lag in round 1, and his strokes gained numbers reflected that. He was basically negative in all the main categories. Today, he completely flipped the switch. He was positive in strokes again, and he putted well. That's why you saw the 4 under. I think more than likely you'll see continuation over the weekend, and I'd be a little bit surprised if a quality player like Patrick Reed finished outside the top 40 right now, quite frankly. So I definitely fade him. I think you'll find him well inside top 40 by the end of the week.
Yeah, he's tied for 28th right now, which is still a far cry from where this next guy is. Kevin Na, 4 under, 66 in round 2, and as a result, 4 under for the tournament right now, halfway through. He is tied for 13th. He's been very, very good after, again, bringing up, so that's 5 shots off the lead with a little quick live math. Julian Edlow would appreciate that. Chase or fade that he's not going to be able to keep this up, though, Jeff, and he's going to finish outside the top 25. And again, he's got a little wiggle room right now.
Yeah, thanks for chasing away all my viewers, by the way, Julian. But, no, I mean, look, Kevin Na he's really hard to figure out this week. He missed a long stretch of time because of injury. He was pulling out of tournaments right before they started. Now he comes in here and he's like 5 shots off the lead in a really quality field. So, you really don't know what to expect. He could shoot 77 tomorrow, and it wouldn't surprise me because maybe his injury flares up again. But at the same time, he's playing good golf, and this is a course where you kind of expect Kevin Na to show up. It's more approach shot driven. You have to be good around the greens here. That's what Kevin Na's game is. So I'll say he continues this. I mean, he won a golf tournament, a pretty good against a pretty good field about 6-7 weeks ago. So he's not in that bad form. It's just the injury issues and the pulling out, which I think have thrown some people off. I think he's coming in. His numbers all look fine. I think you'll see Kevin Na over the weekend at least try and maintain his spot, which right now is T13. So.
Okay, well, Dustin Johnson and Tommy Fleetwood are expensive DFS players who are nowhere near the top of the leaderboard, and that is truly an ugly combination. So chase or fade both finishing outside of the top 25.
I guess I'll fade both finishing outside of the top 25. Fleetwood to me looks really gassed. Like his strokes gained off the tee is fine. Like we talked about him yesterday, and he's hitting the fairways. He's shot even par today, but he's just not doing enough. Like his approaches aren't getting close enough to the flag to give him a lot of birdie chances like some of the other top players are. He just looks gassed from last week, and it's pretty understandable. He was in contention. It was bad weather. It's a major letdown, especially the fact that he didn't actually win the event like Shane Lowry did. So I'm not really shocked that Fleetwood's going a little bit slower than people probably expected. Dustin Johnson's a completely different story, and he's been going hole to hole. One hole he looks great; he's hitting his wedges to like 4 feet, and then the next hole he's just his approach shot sucks. He misses a short putt, and it's like a double bogey. So, I think Dustin will probably get it together, especially on this venue that he's won on twice over the weekend, and you'll see at least one good round from him. I think he's too far back to get in contention, but as far as getting inside the top 25, I think Dustin is actually a pretty attractive weekend golf target. No problem fading Fleetwood at this point. I expect him to just kind of go through the motions on the weekend.
Okay, Jeff, here are some details. Again, Matthew Fitzpatrick is first right now. Halfway through, he's completed 2 rounds. He's 9 under. Just 1 stroke back at the moment, Billy Horschel, and he is through 17 today. He just picked up a stroke. Patrick Cantlay, Cameron Smith, John Rahm, all these guys within only 2 strokes. So what we need, your slate-approved pick. Who's going to win this event?
Yeah, it's Cam Smith for me. He's first in strokes gained tee to green right now. He had about 6 putts, absolutely just burned the edges today. He could easily be in at a 10 or 11 under. Instead, he's at 7 under, but only 2 shots back, playing great golf. He's going to be in a chaser position. Give me some Cam Smith to take this one down.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Way to carry the segment here.
All by yourself.
Let's move to football right now.
Like right now.
Right now. Right now.
Hey, Tara and Isaac here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Los Angeles Chargers running back Melvin Gordon is possibly holding out longer than we expected. We are talking about him threatening to prolong it into the season. Let's break it down. Gordon wants a new contract and isn't interested in the one that the Chargers GM Tom Telesco is offering. The Pro Bowler is entering the 5th and final year of his deal, as he is set to make $5.6 million in the upcoming season. Tom Telesco said, "I love Melvin Gordon. He's an excellent player. He's tough. He has a great work ethic and represents our organization extremely well, but he's not there." Since the 26-year-old is still under contract, he could rack up significant fines if he continues to be a no-show at training camp. The Chargers will look to other running backs like Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, and Detrez Newsome to fill the void until Gordon's contract is resolved.
All right, let's keep the NFL conversation going with DK Live's Jeff Ulrich. He's right back. Julian Edlow, those two can share words personally right here in this segment. And Steve Buchanan also. I take a little offense to Jeff saying that, Julian lost his viewers.
There are viewers, Jeff. I was chasing away our viewers.
Yeah, thank you. NFL spin move.
Yeah, we love NFL spin move, which means, of course, we're putting a spin on today's NFL headlines. Your first, Steve, Adam Schefter reported Melvin Gordon could hold out into the season. So Austin Eckler's been taking first-team reps at running back at Chargers practice. Now, assuming that we're not going to know Gordon's decision until the start of the season, where would you draft Eckler?
So as of right now, in a 12-team PPR league, he's being drafted in about the 8th round. And I think that's fine for what we know right now, which is really not much of anything. Like, you imagine that something's going to get worked out here. Like, it would be a surprise to see the Chargers kind of stand pat here. And then if that's the case, then they would have to assumably trade Gordon, which is what he wants in this spot here. So I think in the 8th round, I think is fine. I think if anybody should end up moving up, it should be Justin Jackson. He's almost like a late round, almost at the end of your draft flyer here. But, we've seen the upside with him in flashes when he got the opportunity near the end of the season. I think he's actually a better player than Eckler when given the chance. We saw how well he did back in college. So I think Jackson is actually the one that people should be looking at to draft a little bit earlier. But the 8th round for Eckler right now, I think that makes plenty of sense.
Jeff, where would you draft Eckler?
8th round is probably fine. I'm 100% with Steve, though. Like, I would just bypass Austin Eckler and take Justin Jackson. The 2 games that Justin Jackson, his first 2 games last year, he got 15 carries and he averaged 8 yards per carry. This is a player who took a big workload in college, and he was very, very productive. He was an absolute steal of the draft. They took him in the 7th or 6th round, whatever, last year. And he profiles as a main carry RB. Austin Eckler does not. Austin Eckler is a really effective pass catcher. He's a good third down back. He will not last in a main carry role. There's no way he's going to take this role the whole year. Justin Jackson, on the other hand, even if he doesn't start out in that main carry role, he's got the potential to move into it. He's much more suited for an every down role. I think he's very similar in stature to Melvin Gordon personally. So for me, Eckler in the 8th round, if you want to do that, fine. But really, the value right now is in Justin Jackson, in my opinion.
Jules, you with these guys where you actually just want to bypass Eckler?
Yeah, all 3 of us are on the same page, or I just didn't do any research and I'm going to copy Steve and Jeff.
Cool.
Eckler's price is fair. Melvin Gordon's situation scares me, though, because like we saw the Le'Veon Bell situation, and I think people overreacted players overreacted because the Steelers missed the playoffs, thinking that made Bell valuable when Bell really just lost himself money and went to a worse team. The Chargers went 4-0 without Melvin Gordon last season, so they can win without him. And I'm with these guys. Eckler, a good running back at a fair price, and Justin Jackson, definitely the guy that you want to pay attention to in late rounds, that I think after maybe 3 or 4 weeks is probably going to be the lead back, with Eckler mixing in, for 30% of the touches or so, assuming that Gordon is not there. So, yeah, I think the Chargers are a type of team where Gordon just doesn't have quite as much value to them, rather than the next guy that we're going to talk about who's significantly more valuable to his team.
I could feel those viewers just charging back.
Yeah, here they are.
All right.
Like that tease, Kaufman?
Oh, I mean, just a dynamite transition. Speaking of holding out, Ezekiel Elliott may do the same thing as Gordon. We'll find out. Now, we heard over the weekend he's making plans to leave the country instead of attending Cowboys training camp, and I kind of get it. But according to NFL.com, Zeke no-showed Dallas' flight yesterday, which is just peachy. So, Jeff, the Cowboys rely on one running back. That's their thing to carry the load. This could be a huge deal. Will probably force Dak Prescott to throw even more, which is really nobody's plan A, I wouldn't think. That said, would you be more interested in Dak if, in fact, Ezekiel Elliott is, doing the no-show thing? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's just touch on this. I agree with what Julian said. I don't think there's much chance Ezekiel Elliott doesn't get a deal before training camp because the Cowboys have no one behind him, whereas Melvin Gordon might actually be sitting himself out of a role in the NFL right now because Chargers are going to be just fine without Melvin Gordon. But back to the matter at hand, Dak Prescott. Look, if you go back and look in 2017, Dak was absolutely horrible without Ezekiel Elliott in the lineup. And I think a lot of people will point to that as something saying, well, this really won't give him a boost. I kind of disagree, though, because Kellen Moore is now the OC. There's no more Scott Linehan there. And you also have Dak Prescott with Amari Cooper now. So he's actually got weapons. They brought in Randall Cobb, too. This is just a bit of a different offensive feel now than it was back in 2017, where the Cowboys were basically just, we're just going to hand the ball off. And if we don't have Zeke Elliott there, then, we're just going to, send a few guys down the field and leave Dak out to dry. I don't think that'll be the case this year. So I do think this actually will give Dak Prescott a bit of a bump. He'll probably end up taking more red zone runs if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't show up to the start of the season, which I think he will. But hypothetically speaking, I think this would bump up, for me, Dak Prescott a couple spots in my rankings.
Bukes, my favorite part of that is that Jeff started to make a pretty compelling argument with past numbers and then just slapped himself right down and went the other way. So what do you think here?
Look, I don't see how there's any way that a deal doesn't get done here to get Elliott before training camp. This is a team that needs Elliott. Jeff brought up a good point. Melvin Gordon is trying to pull this with the Chargers. The Chargers could very well say, we got your replacement and we're ready to move on from you. The Cowboys can't afford to do that. And when Zeke wasn't on the field last season, we saw Prescott throw almost 11% more than when Zeke was on the field. And one of the primary targets was Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is no longer there anymore. So now it's just going to be kind of Amari Cooper, if that's the way they want to go. The thing with Amari Cooper, too, is you got to feel like he was on his best behavior last season because he's in with the new team. Now he's kind of settled in. We're going to kind of see the real, I think, Amari Cooper this season. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing either. So they need to have Zeke back here. I think this offense is built to have Zeke there. So the deal's going to get done. There's no way they're going to let him sit out for as long as he is.
Bukes, you can mention Cole Beasley, but Jason Witten is horribly offended. Jules, what do you say?
Yeah, Zeke's just too valuable to this team. It's a completely different situation than Melvin Gordon. When he's been off the field, when he had that suspension, the Cowboys just don't win games as much, which is the number that the teams are paying attention to when they're doing these contracts rather than the fantasy numbers. But the fact is, obviously, that Zeke eating up all those yards and touchdowns is a huge reason that they get those wins. I can't trust in Dak Prescott to be the same quarterback without a running presence like Elliott out there. Amari Cooper, I think, even if Zeke is out there, Amari Cooper has to regress from that, huge boom that he saw in terms of just fantasy production when he got to Dallas last year. So I just don't see a way that this offense can survive. This is already a team. The Cowboys are a team that is a big, underplay. We don't see a lot of points in Cowboys games. Where would they be without Ezekiel Elliott? They need to find a way to get him. And if they don't, they're going to have to find a running back because the rest of their depth chart is absolutely nothing.
Well, it's been a tough 24 hours for the Giants. A lot longer than that, if we're being completely honest. But lately, first, Sterling Shepard braced his thumb. He'll be out for a little while. Now, today we learned Corey Coleman tore his ACL. He's done for the year. Of course, Odell Beckham Jr. is still gone. So, Julian, which Giants receivers are you most interested in drafting from this shorthanded bunch? And we need the Cliff Notes version. We're running out of time here.
Shorthanded answer.
Well, I'll be thrilled with my fantasy team if I don't have any Giants other than maybe Saquon Barkley. I can't trust the direction of this team at quarterback. If I want one, it was going to be Golden Tate to begin with. Now it looks like he's pretty much the only healthy one. And if Evan Ingram were to slide to me at tight end, I would maybe have interest. But I think there are guys below him that I would probably be more interested in, frankly. So hopefully nobody. But if somebody slides to me, fine.
Steve, interested in any of these Giants receivers?
Not really. I mean, Golden Tate's the obvious answer, but I think Russell Shepard does have some appeal. We did see some decent production when he had the minimal time to play last season, but yeah, it's the Giants' nightmare.
Jeff, anybody for you?
No interest in any wide receivers. This would bump Evan Ingram up a little bit for me to the clear number 4 spot for me. So, in tight ends.
All right, good work, guys. Jeff, you're all done for the week. Enjoy the break.
Woo!
Yeah, see you later, buddy. But you guys, sorry, you have to stay for just a little bit longer, about 10 minutes. You're going to help us with some baseball after word from Pat Mayo, the whole experience on running backs.
I know Duke wants out of town. The Duke? Is there a chance that if they get that Hunt just comes back and takes his role?
Maybe, but that's not an insignificant role.
No, but we've seen them both coexist fine.
Sure.
And even towards the end of the year, I don't need Chubb to have 8 targets a game. If he can have 4 targets a game, just 3 dump-offs, that's good enough for me. Because he's getting all the goal line work.
Yeah. Look, he's in a situation where man, they're going to be good. I don't know.
What does good mean? Does good mean 8 wins? I mean, that would be really good for Cleveland.
Well, you have projected the Jets to win 12 games on this show. I will bet you right now that the Browns win more games than the Jets.
I don't see how the Browns win more games unless there's some significant injuries with the Jets.
So you would like to make this bet?
Bet then.
Let's postpone that till we do the actual
AFC. Okay. So now you want to have it both ways. You want to say crazy things, but you don't really believe it, do you?
Let's postpone it for the AFC pick show.
No, I want to make it right now. I want to get in on this. Let's do it right now.
I know what you're doing, but...
okay, you know what I'm doing. It is, you said one team would win 12 games, and what's the most you said Cleveland could win? 6?
No, I think they could win 8 games if everything broke perfectly.
So if everything breaks perfectly, they could win 8 games versus a team you have projected to win 12 games, but you won't take a straight up. I'm not even asking for odds on this. I want straight up. Browns more wins than the Jets. Doesn't that seem pretty cowardly?
2019 is a year I promised myself not to take any impulsive bets, and this is how it starts. I'm going to think it through, and then we'll have it. You can demonstrate all you want. I don't care. We'll talk about it on that pick show, and not before then am I going to make a bet. Sorry. This is me showing resilience in 2019. This is my year.
Stop being a coward.
And after beating you last year and picked so badly, I want to keep that momentum going.
I mean, you did beat me in the pick'ems, the spread pick'em for the first time in 7 years, yet you lost money to me.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
So I still ended up winning for the season against you, so that was nice. Bad year for me in the picks.
Yeah.
Not great. The coin was the best.
As it always is.
The coin ended up winning the spread pick'em pool. If you had to rank those string of running backs, would you add anyone to that pool, Garion? Would you bump anyone up into a tier by themselves against Chubb, Connor, David Johnson, Bell, Mixon, Cook? Would you throw Aaron Jones into that mix, Damian Williams into that mix, Melvin Gordon into that mix, Todd Gurley into that mix?
No, I don't think there's really a case to be made for the inclusion of anyone else. Aside from, we already talked about the Melvin Gordon situation. Obviously Gordon would be there.
Gordon,
in a vacuum, he'd be fine.
If Gordon reports to camp and is just fine, and he's playing week 1.
He's number 5 running back.
Yeah, he goes to he goes to number 10 in these rankings.
Alrighty, we're back with DK Live's Julian Edlow and Steve Buchanan, plus Matt LaMarca from the Action Network.
He's just been hanging out,
Yep.
watching, didn't want to go anywhere. Steve, it's everyone's favorite segment of the week because it's the last one.
Yes.
Put up your bukes.
What's the first buke? Bukes, please give it to us along with DK point projections.
So, lately we've been having a lot of agreements on this show. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit because, that's not the purpose here. You're supposed to try to argue me, not agree with all my wonderful plays. So what a better guy to start off with than the trash can Jeff Samardzija. Look, he's been having a really good month of July, and I've been going over this like the entire afternoon if I want to play this bum or not against the Padres. But he just faced this team, and he scored 25.8 DK fantasy points against them, struck out 6 through 8 innings, and quite honestly, he's had a really good month of July. Like I said, 26 and 2/3 innings, a 259 WOBA, 4.20 xFIP, and a 23.2 K percentage, which is currently the highest he's had all season long. So I think he can get through this lineup once again tonight. 23 DK fantasy points, but boy, this is going to be a long game to watch because I absolutely despise this dude.
Jules, we'll let you start.
Well, just because Steve starts off by trying to say, oh, I'm going to make a really bad pick so everybody argues with me, it doesn't mean that's what he's actually doing. Like Jeff Samardzija against the Padres in San Diego, yeah, that's a good spot. He just scored 26 DraftKings points in this matchup. He's scored 20 or more DraftKings points in 3 of his last 4 outings. $8,300 in a pitcher's park against a lineup that's not very good. Like, yeah, he's a fine pick. I don't know why I would argue it other than Steve trying to trick everybody into arguing it before his segment.
It kind of worked,
you don't
though,
watch enough baseball. He stinks.
It sort of worked. Like, Jules just, agreed in an argumentative tone. It was a little weird to listen to.
Lamarck, are you trying to agree in an argumentative tone?
No,
Okay.
I disagree in a argumentative tone, I guess.
Okay.
Not
Jeff
yet.
Samardzija, even though the results have been there, his StatCast data from his last 2 starts is literally the worst I've ever seen. He's allowed batters to post a 300-foot average distance, a 97-mile-an-hour exit velocity, and a 53% hard hit rate. That is abysmal. It is a good matchup. San Diego is a great pitcher's park, but the Padres can still do a little bit of damage against right-handed pitchers. And if Samardzija doesn't get that StatCast data under control, he's going to get burnt eventually. So I have no interest in chalk Jeff Samardzija tonight. I will gladly look for some regression.
I just still hear Jules echoing in my head. It's ridiculous that you would argue such a great point.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? 16 DK points for Michael Brantley, Bukes. All right, I know you picked the numbers, so it's, is this really a play that you like? Or are you just trying to keep Julian and Maddie on their toes? What do you think?
No, I do genuinely like this one. I mean, to be fair, I do like all of these ones. I guess these ones just make a little bit more controversy than some of the layups I've been giving all you folks during the week.
Not yet.
The thing about Brantley here is he's going up against Jack Flaherty, and Flaherty has been really good at Busch Stadium until it comes to left-handed bats. And Brantley batting cleanup tonight obviously poses a threat here. A 4.11 xFIP at Busch Stadium for Flaherty against lefties. 5 of his 20 home runs have been allowed here. And then you look at Brantley has a 51.2 hard hit percentage since the All-Star break. Obviously, a prime spot in the Astros lineup is never a bad thing either. And he just feels underpriced at 4,400. So I feel like this is a really good spot for him against Flaherty, and I'm really not one that I think is going to be overly popular. So I do like Brantley a lot here in this spot.
Okay, your turn to argue there, Jules.
Well, first of all, it's not what Steve argues, it's how he argues it, Kaufman. But
sorry.
For this one, $4,400, lefty-righty matchup against a guy that gives up home runs to lefties, batting cleanup for one of the best offenses in baseball. 4,400 is a value. I really have no problem with this pick, and I really want to get to the next one, so I'm going to stop talking.
Matt?
Yeah, I really like all the Astros tonight. I mean, they're all crazy underpriced, in my opinion. I know that their implied team total isn't outrageous. It's only like 4.5 runs, but you will never have an opportunity to buy, one of the best offenses in baseball this cheap. So I think it's a great spot to load up on them.
Okay. Well, one more Bukes for you, Steve, here. What do you got for us? We have about 90 seconds, so let's try to make it quick.
Really quick, Miguel Cabrera, baby, 10 DK fantasy points, is in the midst of a horrific slump, but he is facing arguably one of the worst pitchers on the Mariners. Miguel Cabrera has all of his power against lefties. I don't think this is too far of a stretch. He's only 3,000 tonight.
Okay, Jules, take it away.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything Steve said. I was just scrolling back to try and find Miguel Cabrera's last DraftKings points, and I have found it. It's 2009.
Oh, wow. Okay, Matt?
Don't play Miguel Cabrera. He stinks. Come on, find something
Iggy
better.
still hits lefties. 133 WRC plus against lefties this year, and Kikuchi is trash. Cabrera is a fine play at basically the minimum.
Okay, can we get a name from each of you for a slate-approved lock of the night? One guy, Steve.
Freddie Freeman.
Matt.
Ryan Yarbrough.
And Julian.
Zach Greinke.
Oh, wow. Excellent work, you guys. We made it.
Somehow,
the finish
some
line.
way.
We did it.
It was a grind.
Oh,
really,
it was
for
a grind.
everybody here. We made it through the fire alarm.
Yeah.
We made it through a lot of fence sitting.
Yeah.
We made it through Ulrich's sarcasm.
We
Steve's
did.
yelling. We survived it all.
We don't know how many viewers we chased away, but you guys should all tune in on Monday at 6 p.m. This show will be back.
Hopefully
Twitter,
a couple of you
Facebook,
return.
YouTube, DK Live. Download it.
Snapchat, everywhere.